please take out your big probability and statistics packet and open to page 16. We're going to do our first lesson on statistics. So I'll give you a moment for everyone to get there. Okay, so the whole idea behind statistics is it's the act of collecting data and then analyzing data. And what's important is that you need to remember that when you collect data, there are specific ways and kind of processes that need to occur in order to collect data correctly. Once we have that data, we organize it into tables, charts, and graphs, depending upon what the context is and what's the most appropriate. And then we draw conclusions about the data that we've collected. So, data can be classified in two different ways. We can have qualitative data or quantitative data. Qualitative data is anything to do with words. Okay, so it deals with descriptions or qualities. Notice qualitative data, qualities. Qualitative data has the word qual in it, so you're thinking of qualities. Okay? Quantitative data, you're thinking numbers. Okay? This deals with numbers and quantities. Again, quantities from quantitative, right? So you see how the base word is helping you figure out whether it's words or numbers. Okay, so this is the type of data that you observe. It can't be measured. And this is the type of data that can be measured. And I think as we do examples, you'll understand the difference between the two. So we're going to take some time here and we're going to decide whether the following information or the following data is considered qualitative data or quantitative data. So if you look at the first example, it has to do with a restaurant and whether or not you think the meal was excellent, very good, good, fair, or poor. This would be qualitative data because it has words as your data. Like your data is describing a situation, right? In the next scenario, it wants to know a restaurant makes a record of each customer tip at different times of the day. Tip, well, tip you should be thinking is money. So this is an example of quantitative data, right? We're talking numbers. So what I'm going to have you do right now, and you can do this by yourself or with a partner, whichever you choose, you're going to go ahead right now, read A through J, and determine if it is quantitative or qualitative. Remember, quantitative is in terms of numbers. Qualitative would be in terms of words. Example A should be a qualitative example because you're talking about someone's name. That's words, not numbers. Therefore, it's qualitative. I'm going to go down to C. I'll go over to B in a minute. C should be quantitative. Okay, quantitative because we're talking about somebody's wage, right? We're talking about a number. We're talking about an amount of money, so it's quantitative. Then we have E, a person's gender would be qualitative because gender, again, you're describing someone in terms of words, not numbers. And then you have G, which would be qualitative because we're talking language, which again is words, not numbers. And then lastly, on this side, a person's test score would be quantitative because we're talking about numbers, not letters or not words. On the right-hand side for B, number of hours, we're talking quantitative because it's number, it's not words. For D, the texture of a person's hair would be qualitative because we're talking about describing something in terms of words. A person's ethnicity, that's their background, what they're made up of, their origin, and that would be qualitative, not quantitative. You're not using numbers. The distance a person travels to work would be quantitative because we're talking about distance, which would be described as a number. The number of students enrolled at a particular college, again, we're talking numbers, so quantitative. Okay, flip to the next page. The next idea we're going to talk about today is this idea of what bias is. Okay? The definition of bias is when a sample does not, keyword not, accurately represent the population. Okay? When something is biased, it causes misleading results. So what do I mean by that? Well, here's a perfect example. If I asked two kids in fourth period what their favorite sport was, and they both said basketball, and then I go and I make the assumption that everyone in fourth period's favorite sport is basketball. That's biased data because I only asked 2 kids. I didn't ask a majority of the kids. I didn't ask kids from different classes. I didn't ask kids from different grades. I asked 2 kids in one period to represent the entire population, and that's not good way of collecting data, okay? So you're going to see as we go through this, it's very easy to figure out if something is biased or unbiased, okay? Again, unbiased is a good thing. So is random. Asking random people is better than asking a specific group of people because random means that you're asking different types of people. The data will be more accurate. Okay, so down here, if you look at number 1, we're determining whether or not something is biased or unbiased. And here's the question here's the piece of data we're trying to collect. In each case, a sample of students is to be selected and a height of each student is to be measured to determine the average height of a student in high school. That's what we're trying to figure out, the average height of a student in high school. And it says ask the following groups, so that's what it means by samples. You're asking different samples of people. So the first thing we're going to do is figure out whether or not it's biased or unbiased. If I ask the basketball team their height, is that going to help me determine the average height of a student in high school? The answer is no. This would be biased because what's true about people on a basketball team? They're all mostly tall. Right? Now, I'm not saying everyone has to be tall, but most are tall. So this would not be a good sample to collect this data from because they don't represent an average high school student. The senior class. I would argue that this is also biased data because I didn't ask all grades. Right? And what typically happens when someone gets older is they get taller. So the seniors are going to definitely be taller, most of them, than the freshmen. And then again, I'm not getting accurate data for the average student in high school. I'm getting a specific sample which does not represent the population. Okay? Asking all girls would be biased because again, this is one gender. And I'm not asking a variety of people, I'm asking only girls. Girls are typically shorter than boys. It doesn't mean they always are, but typically they are shorter. Same issue with all 14-year-old students is the same issue with the senior class. This is all biased because that's all freshmen. And same thing I said to you before, freshmen are typically shorter than seniors, right? So that wouldn't be good representation of the average high school student's height. Now we're going to look at these examples, and I'm going to write a note on the side of your paper, and please make sure you write this too. Random is good. Remember I said the more random the people you ask, the more accurate your data will be for a portrayal of the entire population you're looking at. So, if I ask every 10th person selected from an alphabetical list of all students, this is as random as it can get. So this is a good scenario, right? This is good. This is called unbiased behavior, unbiased collection of data. And the reason is because random is good. You can't get any more random than that. I will include, I'm sure in that list, there will be freshmen, sophomores, juniors, seniors. There will be boys, there will be girls. There will be people on the basketball team and people who don't play any sports at all. So there's going to be a good variety there. Every 5th person selected from an alphabetical list of all boys. The first part of this was really good, but then we get to the all boys part, and that's the problem. So again, this would be bad, this would be biased, and it's because it's all boys and not girls. All boys and no girls included. Remember, the more random, the better. Okay? The first 3 students who enter homeroom on Tuesday. Again, this is good. Enter each homeroom on Tuesday. This is unbiased, and the reason being is because this is random. You can't get any, you didn't choose, you didn't seek out a certain type of person. It's as random as it can get. For the last one, a reporter surveys leaving an ice hockey game. This one's different, so this is a different scenario, okay? They're leaving an ice hockey game and they ask whether or not they agree the rink is old and run down and should be destroyed to make a room for a new Shop Smart store. Why might this data be biased? Well, if you think about it, people that are leaving a hockey game enjoy playing hockey or enjoy watching hockey or like hockey. So this would be biased because what would most of those people say? Most of those people would say, don't tear down the rink because they want to watch the hockey game or they want to play the hockey, right? So only asking people, because only asking people who either like to watch hockey or play hockey will most likely result in them saying the rink should be saved. You didn't ask a random sample, you asked specific people, okay? Okay, go ahead and flip your paper to page 18. I would like you guys to try doing a couple of these with your partner or by yourself. And again, you're asking yourself, is it random or is it not random? If the answer is that it's random, then it's good. It's called unbiased. If the answer is that it's not random, then it's bad and it's called biased. So why don't you guys try doing 3 through 6 right now, either by yourself or with a partner. All right, so for this example, I chose to say that this was unbiased, and the reason being is because this is as random as you can get. You're choosing names from a hat, right? So you're not picking specific people, you're not looking for a specific sample for that population, you're just picking at random, so this would be unbiased. For the next one, I chose biased, because if you're asking people that are leaving a pet store how they feel about animal cruelty, most of the time they're going to say, of course they're against it because they're going into a pet store for a reason. They either have a pet or they enjoy pets or they're looking to get a pet. So of course they're going to be for penalties for animal cruelty. Okay, so it's not random. You're seeking out a very specific group of people to ask this question. For number 5, again, I said this was biased because you're only asking one team. And of course that one team is going to say, well, give us the money, we'll use it. And so you need to ask a variety of people from different teams, not everyone from the exact same team. It's not random. And then lastly, number 6, I said that this was unbiased again. Oops, sorry. I said this was unbiased, and again, it's because this is random. That word valid means truthful. Okay, so it's asking, is this survey going to produce truthful data? And the answer would be yes, probably, because it's unbiased. This is random. And again, it's because it's every third customer. It's not seeking out a specific type of customer. It's not doing it at a specific time of day. It's just, in general, random as much as it can be. All right, last thing we're going to do is flip to page 19. All right, on page 19, we're just going to finish talking about the difference between a population and a sample. And this is pretty easy to differentiate. A sample is a part of the population. So it's the same thing as when you think about part and whole. Your sample is the part, your population is the whole. Okay, so for example here, I want to know if I'm talking about the population or the sample, and it says 54% of responders to a poll at university indicated that wealth needed to be distributed more evenly among people. Well, 54% of the responders is not the whole, it's the part. So this would be considered the sample, not the population. Okay? In the next one, are students in Bayshore School District proficient on the state assessments in mathematics? After all the tests taken by the students and the Bayshore schools were evaluated, over 52% of those students were at or above proficient on the state assessment. So this would be an example of population because it said that it took all of the tests taken by the students. Okay? Again, you're not necessarily looking at the percentages, you're looking at what the wording is. This is just the ones that responded. That's why it's the sample, because it's not everyone in the whole population. Down here, it's taking all of the tests taken by students, so that would be the population, because it's the whole. Okay? In the next one, does talking on a mobile phone while driving distract people? Researchers measured the reaction time of 38 study participants. Again, that's not an entire population. That's just part of a population. So this would be an example of a sample. And then on the bottom here, I know I'm moving fast. We're going to review this tomorrow. Did most people living in New York in 2010 have at least a high school education? Based on the data collected from the New York residents in 2010 by the United States Census Bureau, I know you guys have talked about that in social studies a lot. It's saying how many people are living in New York have at least a high school education. So this is asking all of the people in New York, which is why we're using this as our document. This is the population because it's all of the people in New York, not just some of them. I will be back in class tomorrow and we will review what you guys did today. Please ask the sub for your homework.